Well, I had another strange experience, quite an exciting one for me one time, doing a film with Houdini, who was a famous escape artist. And this time, the scene called for him to be taken out and sea. He was in a submarine. Well, they got a submarine from the government. We went out here off of Catalina Island, and they mounted the camera, tied in the back of the submarine, and I put on a bathing suit and tied me down so I wouldn't float off. And I was supposed to photograph the submarine submerging. The man through the periscope could see me, and I give him the signal to go down. And when he knew the water would come up to about my chest, he would stop and rise and come on up. Well, I guess submarines, you just can't control them by inches or foot, you know. So we went out there and it was rocking and I was hanging on, I'm cranking away and I could see the submarine going down, you know, going down. Finally, I felt water coming up, coming up to my waist. I kept going and I said, well, he's going to stop pretty soon. I kept cranking and finally the water came at my chest and I said, well, when's he going to stop? I'm saying to myself. And suddenly I see nothing but green, blue water or something. And I kept cranking and I don't know when I stopped, but I passed out. So when they had me on a raft, they had a raft there that had equipment and first aid stuff and these pull motors or whatever you call them. And when I woke up, they had this thing over my mouth and they were going pumping water out of me. And I looked up and there's the director standing over me and he said, Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy. He said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? The film is all wet.
The name of James Wong Howe is synonymous with the highest quality of the motion picture art. Starting in films in 1915, Mr. Howe developed his craft step by step with the growth of the motion picture industry from hand-cranked silence to the widescreen extravaganza. He has received the coveted George Eastman for his lifetime contribution to cinematography. His fellow workers have honored him with many Academy Award nominations and 2 Oscars. For all this, the art of James Wong Howe is founded on simple concepts.
Jimmy, is this one of the first films that you shot?
No, Milt. Mary Miles Minter, I shot her in a film called Drums of Fate.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first picture with her. And I remember that I made some stills of her, and she liked them very much. She said, could you make me look like this in the movies? I said, yes. And later on, I told her I'd be her cameraman, that she wanted to see me. So I went down to see her in her dressing room. She had all the pictures there. She told me why she liked the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I made her eyes go dark, because she had light, pale blue eyes. In those days, we used an orthochromatic film, and blue went white. And that's why we couldn't get a white cloud against a blue sky, because blue went white and the white cloud, and they ran in, blended in. So I said yes, and I walked out. I said, my God, how did I make her eyes go dark? And I didn't remember, you know. So I walked out there, and I stood where she stood, and I happened to look into a big piece of black velvet. I said, that might be because the eye is like a mirror and reflect color. So I held a little mirror up. It went dark, and I turned up to the skylight, and it was light. So I had a big frame made, 5 or 6 feet, and I could raise and lower, and I cut a hole in it, and I put my lens through, and that's how I made all her close-ups. And the dark reflection in her eyes, it helped it. And then also it prevented from people staring at her.
Yes.
So the news got around that Mary Miles Minter had imported herself an Oriental cameraman. He hides behind black velvet, and he makes her eyes go dark. Well, I became a genius. The objective of a cinematographer is to exercise the control on the quality of light the selection of lenses and camera angles in such a manner that what appears on the screen appears natural, fitting the mood and dramatic content of the scene. Well, you know, being a cameraman, you have many things to contend with, but one of the most important is light, artificial light, daylight. One time I had an experience, I was in Florida doing a picture with Howard Hawks, Air Force picture, with about 9 B-17s. They're going to come in at about 7 o'clock in the evening. So what happens? I had all my lights set, and 2 hours before we're going to make the picture, the generator breaks. I went to tell Hawks, Mr. Hawks, we're having trouble. He said, what's wrong? Generator broke down. He says, look, Jimmy, he says, that's not my problem. You're the photographer. So I had to go to the special effects man. Did you bring some flares? He said, yeah, 3-minute flares, right. So I took the flares and stuck them up where the lights were and had my electrician wire them up. And by that time, the planes were coming in. I told them hit the switch. They hit. They all lit up, and it flickered. The smoke blew through because we were supposed to be in an airfield that had been bombed by the Japs. See? Hawk saw the rushes next day. He said, Jimmy, it's great. Send the generators home. We finish the picture here with flares. These are the things that the cameraman has to dream up sometimes. As I read a script, I begin to feel the way I should light the different scenes for its mood and atmosphere. Now here's the old man in the sea. The writer writes, and he says, close up on the old man as he rests his head against the gunwale. His eyes close and he rests for some time. Then, just then a small bird came towards the skiff from the north, right out of the ocean. Close up of the bow, a small bird lights on the line. That's a fish line. The old man opened his eyes and turned to look at the bird. The old man could see he was very tired. How old are you? Is this your first trip? The bird looks at the old man, and the old man speaks to him again. Well, you know, it's wonderful how writers can dream up these things. But he forgets what the cameraman, how are you going to get the bird to fly in from the ocean and light on the gunwale or on the fish line? That's a problem. Every picture has its set of problems, but a cameraman cannot change the script. We're subservient to that story. We can't go and use our handiwork and try to decorate. We see a plain, nice wall. Someone throws one of these shadows. We call them cucaloras. I don't know where they ever got the name of cucaloras. Or a tree shadow or something. And to decorate it, well, that's a little handiwork. And what the picture, the story is something simple, you see. And it's beautiful to have a plain wall that you can just splash a little light and give a little wash, a little texture, and compose it right, see. Simplicity. I was just thinking all the years, 55 really, 55 years in this business, all the different directors I work with. Oh, there's Howard Hawks, Victor Fleming, Sidney Alcott, Alan Dwan. Late ones, it's like Frankenheimer, Marty Ritt, brilliant director, wonderful person. But a director's relationship with a cameraman should be very, very close. Have a great understanding of one another.
Because it really was an extraordinary look to that picture. I remember we were picking up the camera and running around and chasing backlight all through the picture.
Right.
We got it, and then all the other films that we did together, I knew that you would understand what I was about and what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I wasn't able to articulate it as clearly or as completely as I should have liked to, I knew that you would understand and sweat it out with me and make it possible for me to get what I wanted.
Then the relationship between the cameraman and the director working is not only his work, but there must be personalities too.
But more important than that is the fact that the cameraman somehow, whether he's able to articulate it or not, understands what the man telling the story is about and knows the values that he wants and helps them get those values.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first reel of the Molly Maguires was a perfect example. I wanted very much to get a sense of people living in the earth, in the bowels of the earth, away from light, away from home, what that kind of privation meant to those people. And you gave it to me. In all cases, in kind of creating a mood in the scene, after rehearsing, and you see the rehearsal, you sense very, very deeply what's going on with the actors.
That's what I get.
Yes.
When you're rehearsing, Marty, when I watch you, it gives me something for my lighting to create.
And then I see that happen in the change in the light right away. And then the actors feel the quality of the light. The actors know what the director intended by that point. And all of it comes together to give you a kind of atmosphere which makes the whole experience satisfactory. Any film of quality, if you observe, will be a series of atmospheres, a series of moods from one scene to another.
This is a scene from a film I made in 1928 called Transatlantic. It was one of my first sound pictures. I used a deep focus for the first time. And by using deep focus, I mean I used wide-angle lenses. It was a 25 millimeter. Also, I use low-key lighting. Low-key lighting is not just by having a low reading overall. Low-key really is having a distribution of highlight and dark shadows. So always keep up your key light to full reading, but let your background go dark. So the area of the picture will create the mood that you want. The faces are up, but the background area is rather down in deep shadows. So far we've been talking about the theory of lighting. Now here's a set. It's lit, but it hasn't any mood. So when I first come on a set, I look to see where my source of light can come from, such as a window, or later on we may have a lamp. So let's turn off the lights and see what we can do. I generally start lighting the outdoors first. So let's light the skylight. Now let's hit the light for the tree. That's it. Now can you give me a little more light? Throw shadows on the roof, the leaves. That's fine. Now let's see the sunlight coming through the window. That's too low for the sunlight. Let's raise it up higher. Get about 2:30, 3 o'clock. There. Tip it down a little. Now we got to heat it up a little bit. That's fine. Now that's where I key my set. Start from the outdoor first and light my interiors to match the outdoors. Now let's see the light coming through the window on the people. That's fine. Now that's a light coming through the window. That's a source. Now what we need is this fill light here that will catch Mr. Davidson here, this young lady. Beautiful. That's nice. Now let's see. That's a good. Now let's hit this light here for fill on Mr. Davidson's face here. That's it. That's good. Now what we need is the spotlight up there for a little light on the hair to bring the texture of the hair out. There, that's fine. That's good. Now the walls, we need a little fill. Let's light this fill light here. That's good. Now, we need something to kind of fill it in here a little. Maybe we can use that top one. That's good. That looks quite nice, quite normal. The only thing, this table needs a little treatment. We might hit that little baby here to bring that out a little bit. That's there. That will bring out the table a little. That leaves us with a pool of darkness here on the floor, and we must treat the floor. That's very important. So let's presume there's another window off over there. That's it. We use that light there. Now I think that looks fairly good. Now we're going to light the same scene for sunset. Now light the outside. That's it. Now let's kick the light on coming through them, sunset. That's it. Now the sunlight, sunset light coming through the window. Put the gel on, drop it down. Drop it down, sunset. There, that's fine. Now we gotta warm it up a little more. Let's put another gel on there. That's it. Now let me see this little baby fill light on, Mr. Davidson. That's good. I'll need this fill light here. That's very good there. Now, let's see, we need a little more treatment on that table. Let's light the little table lamp there. Now, put a gel in there, warm it up. That's fine. Now, that floor, we should have a little sunlight, sunset streak come across. Good. Now, the only thing that we need now is to bring our hair out a little bit. So let's have that little baby up there. That's fine. Now, you see, most of the sunset effect is coming from the window. The sun can be only setting from that side. Now, I don't put gels in these front lights because I got to keep this side normal. The fill lights here on this side are no gels. So now we have our sunset effect. But the only thing is, there's a deep shadow right in there. See? Now what we have to do is to move this light around. So you see that shadow. Go around a little more. There. Now that should clean it out a little bit more. I think it looks better that way. Now we had a shot in daylight, sunset, and we'll go into one night with just a table lamp. You notice we have a little quartz peanut bulb hidden behind. It's a 250-watt peanut bulb. Let's light that bulb and see. There, that represents the light coming from the lamp. And we kill all these other lights. Now the table needs a little fill in here. So let's light this fill light here. Give it a little fill. Yeah, that helps it. Now the only thing that's lacking is a little soft light on the hair. Probably we could use that again. Now the outdoor, since the sky is lit, we have a little detail we should have in the building there, right here by the roof. There, that's good. Now I think we have a nice shot of two people in a room lit by one table lamp. You notice that the highlight or the key light is coming from left to camera. It gives a nice effect of one source lighting, which is very simple lighting, as it should be. The most important thing to remember, really, is to make the light to create the effect and the mood that you want it to create. These moods are mostly dictated not by yourself, the way you want to light, the kind of mood, but it's mostly dictated by the scene and the story and the actors, the way they move. Now, I could go ahead and light a scene my way, and You might like the same scene in your way. Now, if we both do the scene and slide it well, and it's good, it doesn't matter how we do it, how we approach it, because we know the technique so well. We've gone through these things. Experience. I think that's what is very important. Experience. It's also to know what not to do. And my God, in my 55 years, I've made enough mistakes to know what not to do. And I still make the mistakes because we're always trying. Huh? Try this, try that, experimenting. But you take a picture that costs 10 or 15 million dollars, well, you got to have a lot of courage to do a little experimenting, because you stick your neck out. If you stick it out too far, somebody lop it off. See? You know what I mean?
You know, I've always felt that it is not how many things you do well that marks the development of an artist, but how deeply and how completely he's able to do what he knows.